I think what's fun about it is that it is real. It is happening now. It's not over. I mean, Mark isn't feeding the birds nearly as much as he did before. The flock is much bigger, so his relationship with the birds is different. But the birds are still there.
Their reputation continues to grow. My senses, and it can only be my sense, is that this is part of San Francisco now, and it's going to be a big deal for a long time.
When we've been showing the film throughout the country, sometimes we'll get a question like, well, do you think that the parrots are going to get so numerous that they become a pest? And that's, you know, thinking of the parrots as the pest, not thinking who brought them up here in the first place, and not realizing that the parrots are just trying to live. There they are. You can hear them. Woo! Okay. All right. See? They agreed with that. Where they come from in Ecuador and Peru, they're endangered. To me, it's really cool that they've adapted to this city environment.
When the parrots came along, it was really just like falling in love. It wasn't something I anticipated. And I did. I mean, that's why I used to wonder why I was doing this as I was doing it. And I finally realized it's because I fell in love. And I just happened to love them. That's it. And I saw what they were interacting with all day long, other birds. I mean, seeing other birds around the edges of the feedings, and they're running from the hawks, and wow, are they afraid of crows or what? You know, and trying to figure all of this stuff out. Yes. My adventure with the parrots started because I was trying to get into Gary Snyder, and I was trying to get out of the city. I wanted to get out into nature. And while I was reading him, I felt challenged by an idea that he was presenting, which is that nature is everywhere. You don't have to leave the city to find nature. That if you really are, you know, curious, if you really want to know, start right where you are, because that's where it is. And I mean, I didn't really grasp it or believe in it, or I didn't love it, but I was sort of like going, okay, if I have to. And, you know, I needed something bright and flashy and loud, like the parrots, to get my attention. You know, they made me start to see what else is here. I mean, nature's everywhere, it really is. I mean, I didn't know there were hawks in the city, but because the parrots were afraid of something I couldn't figure out what it was, I started seeing, you know, oh, that's what that is, those are hawks. And then if you really get into it, I mean, if you're inquisitive enough and you have, you know, a mind that likes to be active, I mean, you have ants, and they have their whole life, and it intersects with everything else around you. There's the soil is a certain type, all of that kind of thing. If you really want to get into it, there's a lot to learn there.
I've been an environmental filmmaker for 30 years, and I used to think when I was starting out that I had to go way far away to film the wild. So I made films in Alaska and, you know, way off in the Ural Mountains of Siberia and all over the place, searching for the wild. But my understanding of the wild has gotten, in a sense, smaller and smaller, closer and closer to home, to the point where filming the parrot film, the parrot movie, was so much fun because I didn't have to pack up all that gear and get on a plane and schlep it to the Arctic slope or whatever. I mean, I have done that, and it is it is valid, but it's here too. The wild is here too. And it's also right around wherever you live. There's something I've been thinking about lately about mediated experience versus non-mediated experience. Mediated experience is, for instance, watching television, looking at your computer screen, going to the aquarium and looking through the glass, going to the zoo and looking through the bars. Then there's unmediated experience where you walk out and you yourself, boldly confront your world.
Hey, Mingus. Wanna dance? Well, I got me a roof, and I got me some clothes, and I eat real good, man, I overdose. When it gets dark, I turn on the light, put on my shades when the sun's too bright. Every comfort for every climb, I still can't get me no peace of mind.
It's like, instead of listening to your CD player, learn to play a musical instrument. It's just like you start getting into what you can do in the world, and you don't know where it's going to take you. You never, if you just get into doing something sort of real that has a direct connection to wildlife, that always leads you back to nature, because that's the source of it. Well, for me, it's just been magical. It's funny, I came to San Francisco, the very first time I came to San Francisco, and this was like 34 years ago, I came to Telegraph Hill. I had a place to stay here, and I saw this kind of area, and I said, wow, you have to really be lucky to live in a place like this. And I never imagined that I would end up here. I lived on the other side of the hill for years when I first came, and this was still the sort of the holy ground. And if I could only get there somehow, but I never even thought about it, really. It just happened to other people, not me. But whenever I'd walk through here, it's so special. I really loved it. I just never saw it happening. So that's been magical for me. I mean, these crazy little dreams came true, all of them.
And when I was, some friends of mine told me, hey, you have to make a film about this guy who feeds the parrots. That's how it all started for me, because I love birds, and I had made some other films about birds. So I came down here, saw him feeding the parrots, wondered how much story is there in a guy feeding seeds to a bunch of birds, but gradually it did grow, and I realized there's lots of story here, and if I could get it on film, it'll be a good movie. And then I got so attached to this area, and Mark and I became such good friends, that as the filming was getting over with, I was thinking, I don't ever want to leave here. Yeah. I do not want to walk up or down these Greenwich steps for the last time and take my gear home for the last time to this other part of town I was living in. And I didn't have to leave, ultimately. We found this place right next door to where Mark used to be living, and
got married.
A few weeks ago, we got married.
Download this episode and more Terra at lifeonterra.com.